So we're going to talk about the stress management D.A.R.E. To give you when you were young, how many people like to take a D.A.R.E? When someone dared you to do something, double dog dared you. Who are my risk takers? I'm going to issue you a D.A.R.E on how to manage stress effectively. Is that fair enough? So, okay, we're going to talk about stress fundamentals, managing stress, communicating those stressful events, communicating with those individuals with whom may be stressing you out, giving you some ways to talk with them, be honest with them, be honest and open with yourself, and to, again, the idea is to get over it. Give you some stress management techniques, and then we'll finish up with the 10 commandments to manage stress. I would tell you that this is a program that's designed to go a little longer, and in the program we actually give you a chance to do some personal evaluations. Maybe in the future I'll get a chance to come back and we'll do the extended program so that you can actually look at where your stress sources, where they're coming from, who are they coming from, and then how do you deal with those situations. But for the day, we're going to run through it pretty quickly, and then maybe again in the future we'll get a chance to actually work it out individually. All right, so by show of hands, how many people here have experienced stress in the last month? Okay, keep your hands up until the statement no longer applies. In the last week, in the last day, in the last hour. Stress is, it's a natural. There are two types of stress. How many people think that some of the stress that we experience actually benefits us? We get some good outcomes from some of that stress. How many people say, if I was never stressed again a day in my life, that would be good with me? Yeah. Most people, we don't want to endure that stress, but we do accept that there are some positive benefits that can come from stress. Typically, and I've heard this said before, many people, when they're experiencing that stress, a lot of times it causes them to focus. It causes them to perform at their best. Some people say, well, I work best under pressure. If I'm up against a deadline, then I get rid of all the exhilarating stuff, I focus, I lock in, and I accomplish the goal. And there's other people who, in that same situation, they will shut down completely. They don't get the job done. So the stress in and of itself is not the issue. The issue is how do we respond to stress? Does it cause us to give our best, or do we allow it to wear on us? Does it become negative? Does it become a situation where we start to have those migraines? We start to have that accelerated heart rate. We lash out at people. Those are the things. So stress in and of itself is not the issue. Hopefully we can give you some ideas of how you can make that stress positive for you. Okay, stress is a normal physical response. Anybody have any young babies? or maybe your niece or your nephew or grand? How many of your young babies have this time of the day when they have stressful moments? They have something that's going on behind them that they don't want there anymore? Or they have something that they want to get inside of them. They want to eat, or they've ate and they don't want what they've ate to show up again. Okay, so stress from children all the way up to, I say from diapers to depends. All of us, we're going to have some stressful moments. And what stress does, it threatens or upsets your balance in some way. The three types of stress. There's the physical stress. An example of physical stress is you're driving down the road and a car runs the red light and you're approaching and you avoid to try to hit. What happens? Heart rate goes up, pupils get dilated, we start sweating. Sometimes people say things they probably shouldn't say in public. They use your number one finger toward other people. But those are signs of physical stress. Then you have the mental stress. Mental stress is a little bit more difficult to determine than physical stress. Mental stress is the times when we start getting anxious about something. We start thinking that people are maybe withholding things from us, or they're behaving toward us inappropriately or not the way that we expected it. And so we have those reactions to it. And then you you have the emotional stress. The emotional stress is when we start feeling like we're losing control. Our security is threatened. The things that we, and I mentioned earlier, things that we expected, they don't come out the way that we were expecting them to, the way that we were looking for things to come out. And so those are the three types of stress, but do you understand that your physical reaction to each one of those episodes does not change? The physical stress, you get the heightened the body reaction. The mental and the emotional stress causes the same types of reactions. But if you are driving down the road and that car runs the red light and runs in front of you, and you avoid it, you get over that. You may think about it later on in the day. You may go home and tell someone about it. You may put it on Facebook. but you get over that event. The mental and the emotional stress, we don't tend to get over this quickly. It tends to linger for a while, and because of it being an ongoing or more of a chronic episode, the impact that the recovery from the physical stress, we don't always experience that with the emotional or the mental stress. We're still dealing with it. We go to bed at night and we're thinking about it. We wake up the next day and it's on our mind. We go to work and it's still there. That mental, that emotional, we're dealing with it. And because the physical reaction doesn't change, then that's where we start to experience those medical ailments. That's where we start going to the doctor. Doc, I'm not sure what it is, but my body's not feeling the same. I'm getting these my skin is reacting. I'm losing my hair. I'm losing weight because we haven't let it go. And if we can learn to let it go, then we'll get over it the same way that we get over the physical piece, and we enjoy a healthier life. And that's what I'm all about. I believe that we only come this way one time. Let's make the most of it while we're here. Let's enjoy this life that we have. All right? So what are the causes of stress? I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times we experience stress when we feel threatened. Okay, the driving incident we were talking about, if you're going down the road, and it doesn't happen much here in Florida, in Gainesville, but on one occasion, when the road gets slick with ice, anybody ever hit an ice patch? And you're driving down and you lose control of the car. You're walking down and someone runs up and they're going towards someone else, but you think they're coming towards you, and all for that brief moment, you feel that there's a threat. I don't see any. You're driving down the road and I do see one. You're driving down the road and you look in the rearview mirror and you see some red and blue lights. What's that? I know you were tired. But those are times when we feel threatened. That brief moment when again the body reacts. We experience change, and for most of us, this is where we have our most stressful times. We experience change. Somebody said there are three things that you can depend on: taxes, death, and change. You may not pay your taxes. Maybe consequences, but you may not pay your taxes. We won't go there. But the death and the change is certain. As long as we continue to inhale and exhale, things are going to change. Our bodies you've changed since the time that you came in this room. And to expect that you're not going to change will give you a stressful outcome. We lose our sense of control. How many people have heard of the phrase locus of control? Locus of control. Locus of control suggests that if you feel that you're in charge of you and in charge of your situations, then you're going to be okay. If you feel that someone outside of you is doing everything and you have no control, somebody else is making all the decisions and calling all the shots, then you feel helpless, you feel vulnerable. Okay? And whenever we feel that we've lost our sense of control, that creates an additional stress for us. And then the last one we have here is when our expectations aren't realized. Regardless of whether those expectations are realistic or not, when those expectations aren't realized, that creates stress for us. I can talk about me. There have been times when I've had a lengthy conversation with another person in my head. Never said a word to them, but I've gone over what I'm going to say, I'm going over how they're going to respond, and then I'm going to give back my response, and I have a lengthy conversation in my head about something that I want the other person to do. But if I've never shared it with that individual, how responsible are they for meeting my expectations? That was a question. 0. Yeah. So I have expectations. I place those expectations out, but I don't share it with the people who are capable of meeting those expectations. And many times, because those expectations weren't met, I'm stressed. Well, it's my anniversary. He should know it's my anniversary. Right. He should know it. She should know it's my birthday. She knows what I like. He knows what I like. The kids know they should do this. My parents know that this should be, and we have these expectations. But how do we know that they know? And because we don't have that, we don't close that loop, then we experience stress. A lot of the times, the person with whom we have that expectation are home resting peacefully. And we're stressed. They have no idea that you're going through whatever you're going through. Had you shared it with them, there's a good possibility, not a guarantee. There's a good possibility that they may have worked with us to help us to alleviate whatever that situation was. But we're home, we're stressed, they're home, they're snoring. Okay? Our expectations aren't realized. Your stress is typically going to come from one of two places. Typically. First is the stress that you put on yourself, the internal stress, the thing that I should be doing this. I should have already made that. I should have already finished that. I'm behind on my deadline. And we put that at this point in my life, I thought I would have already accomplished this. I'm behind on my retirement. I'm behind my whatever. My kids aren't, and we place all of that pressure on ourselves. Okay. The other source is obviously external. People are looking for us to accomplish certain things. Okay. It's vacation time. We should be leaving now. Why aren't you ready? I asked you 3 weeks ago to get this done. Why isn't it done? I saw that. Can I share a story with you? Yeah. Okay. And it's a true, sad story. Okay, it's a true story. It's a sad story on my part. We moved into our home in December of 2000. We have in the kitchen area, we have the two sinks. Am I describing it so that you can go on? Yeah. One of them did not have a the thing that catches the drain, the water. The strainer, but no, it was not just a strainer. The stopper. And my wife said, John, I really wished we could get this done, because whenever I wash the dishes, okay, and that's a story in and of itself. Whenever I wash the dishes, because of how the sink is set, I have to wash the dishes closer to the what do you call it? No, the pan that you put it in. The dish drainer. And I'm not making this up. I don't wash dishes. So that's why a lot of stuff I don't know. But she told me, said, whenever I have to wash dishes, I have to wash them closest to the drainer. I have to rinse them over on the other side, and then I have to put them back in the thing. She said, if you would just get this done for me, it would make it a whole lot easier for me to wash dishes. 2000, that conversation probably came up maybe the next year.
She wanted you to get a sink stopper.
She wanted me to replace the sink.
Oh, replace the sink.
Replace the sink.
Oh.
Replace the sink. You want to know when the sink got replaced? It's replaced. You want to know how easy it was to get it replaced? It was a simple. Oh yeah. But my point is, do you think I created some stress for her? Yeah, probably
Every
did.
night, every afternoon she washed dishes, every night she washed dishes.
And you know what her reaction was? I told him about it. I said, now I told you this was sad but true. I told him about it. If he hasn't fixed it, then obviously he's really not concerned about me. She didn't say that to me until I got it fixed. But for years she was holding that in. I've already told him about it. He's done nothing about it. Now, and many of you say, I would have called somebody myself. Many of you say that. Okay, she probably could have done that, but she didn't. She said, no, you're my husband. I've asked you to do something, and you've not done it. Okay, so what does that tell me about how you feel about me? Okay, external. Expecting someone to do something, and because I don't wash dishes, I never had to really deal with it. I'll do laundry, I'll clean the bathroom, I'll do everything outside. I just don't do dishes. And so I never was able to really relate to what it was that she was experiencing. Okay? But external. But here's where the biggest source of stress comes when we have conflict among our values. I believe a certain thing should be a certain way. Somebody else doesn't agree with my priority, my listing. And it's because there's a disagreement, we have stress. That's typically where the stress. It doesn't matter whether it's at the job, it doesn't matter whether it's at home, it doesn't matter if it's at church, it doesn't really matter where it is. When there's a conflict in the values, it's going to create stress. It's going to create stress. Someone is going to be stressed in that situation. All right? So the number one enemy of stress, is negative emotions. One of the negative emotions, this comes from Brian Tracy. He says, we justify why we feel that we're entitled to a certain thing. Justify is when you rationalize, you give yourself an answer of why things should be the way that I want them to be. The other thing that we do is we rationalize. Rationalize is when we give a good idea for a bad, we give a good description for a bad idea. We make it sound good so that we feel better about who we are and what we're doing. Okay. Well, the reason I hadn't gotten to the sink yet is because, and then we just give a bad answer to it. The next thing is we're hypersensitive to the treatment from others. We really are concerned about what other people are thinking about us. Okay. I've had a few birthdays. I tell young people all the time, you don't get this stuff here in your head unless you've done it, you've been around a little while. You know what I found out on some of my birthdays? What did you find out, John, on some of your birthdays? I'm glad you asked. I found out that people don't think about me as much as I think people think about me. I found out that I'm really not that important to a lot of other people. Not because I devalue me, but because they think about themselves. They think about how they're going to pay their bills. They think about how they're going to meet they're more concerned about their situations than they are concerned about my situations. Has anyone else ever found that to be the case for themselves? Yeah. Even though we're overly sensitive to how people treat us, a lot of times people do things, but they're not really thinking about the impact that's going to have on us. But we become stressed because of their treatment of us. Last one is blaming. Blaming is making others responsible for our situations. Not taking ownership, and that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about. But when we refuse to take ownership of, if I refuse to own John, then I release John's ability to control where John's going, to control John's destination. No one dressed me on today. I'm fully responsible for all that I am. And that's not saying, I'm not making a statement about beliefs and all that stuff. But while I'm on this earth, I make my own decisions. I consider input from others, but I make my own decisions, and therefore I'm responsible for the consequences. Okay? Blaming others is another source of negative emotions. All right, so let's talk about the stress management D.A.R.E. And you said we had 3 hours today? Again, I'm going through this really quickly, but the stress, first thing we do is we decide. We decide. Identify the sources of the stress at the root level. Too often, we deal with the symptoms of the stress. We never get to the source of the stress. So someone give me some ideas, and this is again, I want a little feedback. Give me an idea of what are some symptoms of stress. Tiredness. High blood pressure. Insomnia. What about more on an interpersonal level, interacting with others? What are some symptoms of a stressful event?
Being short, not explaining yourself completely.
I said, fill in the blank. Okay, being short, being rude, which is maybe the same thing, refusing to communicate. These are symptoms that there may be something going on, but how often is the real reason that this is happening differ from what you see? A lot of times we look at the symptoms, we deal with the symptoms, we say, well, if they're not going to talk to me, I'm going to send them a nasty email. But they were short with me, I'm going to leave them a nasty voicemail, instead of finding out why was the person short. Okay, why did the person withhold the information? Okay, so we get to the root. Know the difference between the symptoms and the causes. I thought I heard a comment.
So it's the cause of what people act the way they act.
At the root level, took down a couple of trees in my yard the other day. Okay, I didn't go up and take the leaves off the tree. I was nervous that the tree might fall because I knew we were getting ready for the hurricane season. I was concerned that the trees may fall. They were pretty close to the house. Had the trees down. It would have done me no good to go up and take off some of the leaves of the tree. Okay, so we cut it. We cut the tree, cut it down to the ground. Get rid of the source of the concern. All right, and then to decide to measure the impact of the stress incidents. Identify what they are, and then identify how they impact you. Okay, we may say this a little bit later, but two people can be going through the same situation. One person not be stressed at all by it. Another person totally losing it. Okay. Identify how that situation affects you. And then once we do that, why? Why am I impacted the way that I am? Okay, where's the stress coming from? Is it coming from home? Okay. Is it coming from some personal guilt or some personal expectations? Is it coming from the job? Am I functioning in a position that's beyond my skill set? Have I taken on too much? Am I functioning in a position that's beneath my skill set? Am I not given enough? Okay. All reasons that we could be stressed. Does the job that I work hard at pay me what I need to meet my needs? Am I spending the money correctly? Am I saving? Where's the stress coming from? Okay. Simply it could be one of those areas. Again, this gray hair, I found out that depending on how stressed we are in one area, sometimes it starts to bleed over into other areas. Because I have more month left at the end of my money, I started going to work and demanding that I get paid more, wondering why am I not getting paid? I start looking for other jobs that maybe will pay me more. Because I'm really stressed at home, I'm at work, I go home and I don't spend time with the children. I don't spend time with the wife. I am short with the spouse or with the significant other. So typically a lot of times when we're stressed, when we're especially hyper-stressed in one area, it starts to impact us in other areas of our life. It gets dangerous when we have stress coming from two areas at the same time. okay, you're guaranteed to start seeing some negative consequences. It's been reported that 75%, according to a study done by some doctors, and we have some health people and they can correct me on this, but it's been reported that 75% of most of the medical complaints are stress-related complaints. 75%. 3 out of 4 times that you go to the doctor is a result of some type of stressful situation that's going on in your life. Okay. And then an additional report said, based on the number of people who are in the workplace, it says 1 out of 2 of those individuals, 50% of those individuals are experiencing stress. That's almost debilitating. You probably know someone who is going to work on a day-to-day basis who is barely functioning, who's barely surviving. It may not be saying anything to you, but it's taking everything they have just to get there that day. What happens when we, to the people that you know, I'm not saying that's happening to you, what is the ways that some of those people deal with it? Well, we're going to talk about it. Okay? These were the top 10 stressful life events. Okay? Most of those you will see have to deal with you and another person, you in a relationship. Okay? Jail term, it could be you and another person. Many of these people consider those to be happy times. All right, stress in the workplace, a lack of control. A lack of control looks like I'm asked to do a job, I'm given a portion of the responsibility, but I don't control the outcome. Okay, that creates stress. For those of us who are supervisors, those of you who are supervisors, you have individuals who work for you, work with you, you've given them an assignment, you're expecting something to come from them, but their contribution, you've not given them the big picture, how their piece affects the outcome. You're creating stress for them. I have control over this part, but I don't have any control or input on the final picture. That stresses me out. A lack of recognition or feedback. I do the work. I do what I think is a good job, but I don't hear from you whether it's a good job. In any way. Not necessarily you have to call me to the front and celebrate me, but am I doing a good job? Am I giving you what you're looking for? That can stress the person out. Uncertainty about the future. Not whether or not I'm going to lose my job because of my performance, but is the job going to be there? Will I have to give up my home? Will I have to give up my car? Will I have to change my style of living, my quality of life? Will it be impacted? Okay? That's going to create stress for individuals. And then we talked a little bit earlier about boredom. Boredom is I'm here. I could do the job that you're paying me to do in 3 hours, but I have to be here for 8. So I have to fill my time for the other 5 hours. Or you guys working 10-hour days still? I heard it's supposed to change. So if you can do it in 3 and you're there for 7 more, how do I occupy my time? Okay? That can create stress. Okay? I'm not being utilized to my fullest. I want more responsibility. I want more opportunity. But nobody seems to recognize that I can contribute, and therefore that may be stressing me out. All right, so how do we respond to stress? Typically, we respond in 1 of 3 ways. We try to resist it. Okay? We pretend that it's not there. You put your head in the sand and just continue to function. Oh, were you talking to me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you talking to me. Oh, you sent me an email? It must be. Okay, we resist it. Avoid it. Avoiding is we go through. We actually, it's more of a passive resistance kind of thing. We do it, we're there, we hear it, but we give ourselves reason why we haven't delivered yet. Okay. So we avoid. But the most effective method is to confront the source and then adapt our behavior to continue to function effectively. Okay. Identify where it's coming from, what's my portion of it, how can I make it better for us, and then we move on. Okay. Notice I said, how can I make it better for us? A lot of times, some of us are more concerned about how can I make it better for me. But if I make it better for me without considering the impact it has on other people, we're probably going to come back to this point again. The stress is made real. So how can I make it better for us? And then we move on. All right. So the A in the D.A.R.E model is to accept responsibility for any contribution from you. Okay. John, if you had fixed that sink in 2001, it probably would have eliminated a lot of unnecessary heartache. Hey, that's my story. What's yours? What is it that you have refused to accept your contribution? You refuse to accept responsibility for what you've done, and it's causing that situation to linger on. Accept responsibility for your part. What actions or inactions have contributed to the incident, and then take responsibility, accept responsibility for making the change. Anybody have any idea what that means? If it's to be, it's up to me. No one's coming to the... Remember I said earlier that a lot of people are worrying about what's going on in their lives? They're not really thinking about you? They're trying to solve their situation. So if there's something that's causing you stress, the surest way of getting past it, getting through it, is you start doing something. Accept responsibility, come up with a plan for making the change, implement it, measure it, monitor it, get feedback, but do something. Now, say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'll do it in 2017. So these are some ways that we cope. Okay. They're not necessarily all the best ways, but these are some ways that we cope. One of the things we do is we hope it will go away. Well, if I ignore it long enough, maybe they'll stop. They'll quit asking. Or they'll change themselves. They'll change their behavior. Okay. It's not going to go away. It may resurface in a different form, at a different time, but you can count on it coming back. Ignoring it, hoping it will go away. Another method is we seek fast relief. Seek fast relief is when we start using inappropriate methods for dealing with our stress. Okay, not a statement of judgment or whatever, but if my method for dealing with the stress is happy hour every day, that may not be the most effective method. It may make you feel good for the moment, but it doesn't deal with the issue. And the issue is still going to be, if my method for dealing with the stress is anything that's inappropriate, and I'm not trying to make a statement, Judge, and I don't know what your situation is, but I think we all will agree that there are some things that's not helping us. Okay. I'm a praline and cream ice cream kind of person. Every now and then, I just feel like I need to go to Baskin Robbins and get me a double scoop sundae with a lot of caramel on it. It doesn't help, and I probably shouldn't be saying that in this setting, right? Okay. But I know that that's not going to help my situation. Okay, and honestly, this is an honest statement. I've stretched out the time in between that. Now I'm down to like once every 2 or 3 months. It used to be a lot better. I was going to say a lot worse, but it wasn't worse at the time. But it used to be a lot different. Okay, but understand that certain things that we do to try to get the thought, the idea out of our mind, it doesn't work for us. All it does is it pushes it to another side of the room or in another corner of the desk or whatever. We have to deal with it. Take it out on others. We heard that earlier. Okay? And we said refusing to accept responsibility, blaming others. We start lashing out. We start withholding things from others. Okay? Withholding affection, withholding love, withholding compliments. Okay? We start, instead of withholding, we start sending out things. Sending out negative statements or comments, or we start start to criticize people unjustly because we figure we can direct attention away from them, away from me and put it on someone else, then I don't have to deal with the issue. Again, all we're doing then is creating more stress. And then the last thing will be to seek help. All right? The R is to respond, communicate positively and honestly with ourselves and with others. And then develop an attitude of flexibility. Remain true to your values, but acknowledge, and made a typo there, allow room for the imperfections of people. Remain true to your values, but allow people to not be perfect. Okay. I'm pretty sure on this one, if I were to ask you how many people were perfect to raise your hand, I'm pretty sure what the response would be. You probably get 2 people in here. Okay, now you have to figure out who those 2 people are. Okay, but not many of us are perfect. And not many of the people with whom we interact are perfect. So allow room for the imperfections of people. Communication with ourselves. Believe that we can do something different. Believe that we can make a difference with our situations. We talked earlier, acknowledging responsibility, practice objective evaluation. I tried something. Did it work? Did I get the outcome that I was seeking? If it worked, you may want to repeat that in the future. If it did not work, don't do it again. Objective evaluation. If it doesn't work, quit doing it. Tell people how you feel. I do a conflict resolution session. Tell people how you feel. Talk about you. You don't talk about the other individual. You know, well, every time you do this and you never do that, and you always do that. That doesn't work. Okay? Tell people how you feel. Identify the real issue. Avoid engaging in conflict. Okay? Typically what that does is it leads to more stress. And then the E, your expectations. Expect a different outcome within you. I tell people all the time, cover your stress button. Cover your button, your power button. So often, we give people not only permission, but we invite people to come and flip our switches. Okay? If I can say something and cause that person to react, I control them. If someone can say something or do something that causes you to react a certain way, they control you. And I tell anyone, never give someone that much control over you. Cover your button. Don't let them come and access your button and flip your switch whenever they want to. Make them at least get the key out of something to unlock the cover. Okay? Cover your buttons. And expect a different outcome from your interaction with others. Because of how you view yourself, the outlook that you have to others is going to change. Okay? Expect a different outcome. Identify some priorities. Priorities help us to make decisions when we're under pressure. If we know what's important, if we know what the main thing is, then whenever we're dealing with something that is stressful, because we have those identified priorities in the various areas of our life, it helps us to make the right decision without being stressed or feeling guilty of doing so. So, work priorities, personal priorities, and then learn to manage your time. Give more attention to the things that are more important, less attention to the things that are less important. And I said earlier, ideally, you want to eliminate those things that are not important. Get rid of them. Focus your time on something else. Okay? The burden of perfection. I said earlier, the perfect people didn't come today. And they won't be here tomorrow or the day after that. Okay, and then trying to be something we're not. We've been I'll use the term duped into thinking that we have to be something, all things for everyone. Okay? Even if it puts us at places where we're very uncomfortable. No, be who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. And don't be afraid to say, look, hey, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I changed my mind. I'm sorry, I can't deliver. Don't be afraid to say that. That's being honest with the other person. Can't and won't are different. If you can, and you're supposed to, then do. But if you can't, then just let them know, I can't deliver. Okay? Stress management techniques. Don't react, act. Be proactive, get ahead of the game. Anticipate certain things that are going to happen, and then have a plan in place. Take control. Control the things that you can control. The things you can't control, leave them to someone else. Learn effective communication skills. Create a means to combat boredom. By that I mean always challenge yourself to grow. Even if no one else is recognizing what you can do or how you can do or what you bring to the table, what you present, always challenge yourself to grow. Always be looking to get more out of you. Okay? That way you can combat boredom. Know what you like about your job and then try to work in those areas as often as you can. Change your diet. A lot of times, cravings and creams may not be the best thing for you. Okay? So try to be a little bit more restrictive, I think, can I use that word? And what I eat. Concentration focus. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, general muscle stretching. All those things will help to try to get some of that and get those toxins out. Okay? And then work out and exercise regularly. Don't let the minor aggravations get to you. Don't sweat the small stuff. Anybody remember that book a long time ago? Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't succumb to guilt. People from other persons or from yourself. Develop some strategies we talked about. Learn to accept and adapt to change. Change is a constant. There's always going to be something changing. Change the way that we look at stress. Stress does not have to be negative. Stress can be positive when we develop effective methods of dealing with it. Develop a support system. There are going to be some times when you may not be able to deal with it on your own. Have some people that you can reach out to who say, all right, stop. Take a breath. Take a breath. Breathe. Okay, and then have some people who can help you walk through it. Okay, learn to accept the things we can't change. Develop a personal anti-stress regimen. Don't take it personally. Believe in yourselves. Okay, many years ago I came up with this. How many people, military people? Any military people here? Okay, 23:59. What happens after 23:59? And on the clock. Okay, it goes to the next day. 4 zeros. I don't know what you call it. Double off, 4 off, whatever. Okay, but at 23:59, a new day starts. So whatever happened on yesterday is in yesterday. And what I found is that a lot of people take things into their today or their tomorrow that they did not like or want yesterday. And so this rule says once midnight starts, whatever you didn't like, whatever you didn't want in your yesterday, don't take it into your tomorrow. Okay. When the new day starts, you start a new day for you too. What are your questions? Those are some other programs that we offer. What are questions, comments, suggestions, or concerns?